My spending is somewhere around 2 to 2.5 lakhs.
What's the silliest expenditure you've done in retirement?
So right now my distribution is somewhere around 85% on equity and 15% on debt.
And I guess early in one's career, it's also difficult to save a big percentage.
It was very difficult. I invested lots of mistake. Invested in lump sum, and second invested in a sectoral mutual fund.
But you were not missold an insurance policy, no?
I was, of
You
course.
were? Yeah.
Of course, multiple insurance policies. So first, I would say that my first step was large cap funds. Then I realized, okay, इससे बेहतर कर सकता हूँ. That is something which I realized a little bit earlier, that in order to utilize opportunity, I need to have some opportunity fund.
But around 80% of your direct stock corpus would be
Easily 60-70% goes into some of the major 4-5 companies that I'm investing on. I would say I'm not a real estate investor.
Hello and welcome to Money Talks with Mint. This is Neil Porate. I am a personal finance editor at Mint. And joining me today is Amit Upadhyaya, someone who's spent more than 20 years working in technology, we can say, and with a French multinational company. And he's based in Pune. And most importantly of all, he's achieved a dream that a lot of Indians dream of, which is financial independence and retire early or FIRE. So we'll talk all about how Amit has got here, how he plans his expenses and his future. So Amit, to begin with, of course, can you tell us how much do you spend per month?
My spending is somewhere around 2 to 2.5 lakhs on an average out, because there are always spikes also and then troughs also. So on an average 2 to 2.5 lakhs.
And you have 3 members in your family.
Yeah, it's me, my wife, and I have a 12-year-old daughter. So if I look at it from the essentials perspective, something which is absolutely a necessity, which I can't avoid, like my daughter's school fee and groceries and all those kind of expenses, somewhere that varies around 1 to 1.25 lakhs or something. And then rest 1 lakh or 1.2 lakh, 1.25 lakhs or something is something which is a bit of a discretionary, averaged out discretionary expenses.
That's your fun money.
That's my fun money. That's the kind of a money which I can always cut down, preferably not. But that is something which average, this is how it comes out to be: travel, eating out, some of the expenses which I would love to do without thinking too much about it. So yeah, that's
What's the silliest expenditure you've done in retirement? कि सोचा था कि अब ये तो मुझे करना ही है.
Silliest expense that I'm thinking about.
Or you have done since, I mean, it's only been a few months since.
So I have, okay, so it's very interesting. There are two one is a little bit, I don't consider both of them completely silly, but at least I would call it as a little bit extravagant. So I bought a very nice bicycle, because I was really looking at something, because I love going for a long rides. I already had one, but I thought maybe after a while, maybe I will not be able to think too much about it. So I'll do it right away. And second thing is that I fly drones. So that is one of the things which I would call it as a little bit crazy.
So you bought a drone?
I upgraded my drone.
Nice.
Because I really wanted to pursue my drone, because these are the two expenses I was thinking about, that after a while maybe I will become a little bit more conscious about money. So I may not be able to do it at that particular point of time. So that's why I ended up doing it.
And you like to drive around the country and you carry the drone with you.
Yeah, it's always like that. So whenever I'm traveling, I always carry my drone.
Recently went to Varanasi, right?
Yes. Recently went to Varanasi, and
from Pune, you drove all the way there.
Yeah. So it was around more than 1500 kilometers one side. So overall, it came to around 3400 kind of with all of the things here and there, it came to around 3400 kilometers altogether.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love doing it. Every year at least I try to take one very long road trip.
Yeah.
More than 3000 kilometer kind of a road trip. So that's my fun part.
Awesome. So now everyone talks about their FIRE number when they're approaching FIRE, and you made sure you have more than 30 times your expenses.
Correct.
In terms of the equity debt breakup, roughly, can you give us the percentages?
Yeah, so I have been a bit more aggressive on equity side of the things because maybe we can go a little bit deeper into that subject also. But as I started learning, I started going a little bit more aggressive about it. So right now, my distribution is somewhere around 85%
Equity.
on equity and 15% on debt.
Now, before we go into the equity part, the way that you approach debt is that first of all, you have a certain amount of cover, 15 lakhs worth, to meet your, monthly expenses,
Correct.
the fixed part. And you do some consulting, so you also have some additional money coming in.
Correct.
And then you have your debt component, which is in EPF, your EPF corpus, which you can start withdrawing once you've exhausted the 15 lakhs.
Correct.
And it's only then that you need to call upon your equity. So there's quite a bit of a buffer.
Exactly.
But as you were discussing earlier, you're not going to wait for 2-3 years to pass before you withdraw from equity. If you think the market is too high, you'll move that. Yeah.
Correct. So till this point of time, I think I would say that rebalancing is something which I did, but not very aggressively, because of the reason that there was no such kind of a primary need also. But now when I have to do my financial planning in a far more, I would say, refined way in terms of year over year withdrawal and all those kind of things. So now, as you were also saying, and I was also explaining it to you, first I will exhaust my corpus that I have created for my at least 1 year runway, and then after that my EPF withdrawal. I'm hoping that within a year I'll get my EPF money. So with that, I will continue my survival and running my expenses and all that. But in the meantime, I will start doing balancing of my portfolio, and this runway is something which will be needed because after rebalancing, not necessarily everything will go right. Something will go wrong also. So this runway will be something which will give me a leeway in terms of stabilizing that portfolio in a structured way.
Yeah.
So once I reach to that stage where I have to start tapping in money from that, till that time, the portfolio will be pretty much stable.
Yeah, makes sense. Now let's talk about how you got here. So when did you first start investing? How old were you?
In terms of investing, I would say some part of it I started in my as soon as I started my job, and that's something which is very interesting thing. I would like to tell it to everyone is that tax saving encouraged me to invest. I didn't know anything about investing, zero idea about investing. But when the first thing came, there is a certain amount of money which will be cut into tax, and I was like, why? And then I started asking this question, what can we really do about it? And then I got to know, okay, there are some instruments through which you can do it. At that time, I didn't know much, so started with simply EPF and some PPF, those kind of things. Nothing fancy and all. So that is something which I started in the first year of my job itself. So it was in 2001. So there itself I started. But it took some time for me to start understanding what exactly investing is. So that's where it started.
And I guess early in one's career, it's also difficult to save a big percentage.
It was very difficult. It was very difficult. Started with my classic thought process of invest whatever is left, and then started changing the philosophy, save and then expenditure. So a lot of learnings during that process, and yeah, that's how I started learning about it.
Right. So when do you think you reached a good level of percentage saving every month that, hey, now you're really building it up?
So till 2007, 2008, it was very unstructured kind of investing. It was either tax saving, or it was to do with certain experimentation. Many of them went wrong also. I spoke about that in my article. But it's did those kind of mistakes. And
you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, actually that's an interesting one because when I started So first experiment with mutual funds, that was the mutual fund actually. First with mutual fund was ELSS funds because of tax saving. And then I became a little bit interested. Ki, okay, this sounds interesting. Got to know about somebody who said, ki, okay, I can suggest you good mutual funds and all. And eventually, whatever corpus that I had, it wasn't a big one, but at that time, it was very important corpus. I invested lots of mistake. Invested in lump sum, and second, invested in a sectoral mutual fund. So at that time, it was an infrastructure boom.
So the 2007 wala.
Yeah. So I invested significantly there, and then since then, it just went downhill only. Then never kind of did well. So those are the mistakes that I did, and then I realized कि नहीं यार ये तो I.
But you were not missold an insurance policy, no?
I was, of
You
course.
were?
Arey,
Yeah.
of course, multiple insurance policies. So I was sold almost 3 insurance policies.
Huh.
Life insurance policies. And now if I look back, such a funny thing because most of these insurance policies which were sold to me, all of them would have matured by now or earlier than that. Where I really need life insurance now, not 5 years before or all that. And the amount would have been like so insignificant. So doesn't serve any purpose at all. So there were like 3 such kind of policy, and everywhere it was because of some obligation or somebody pressing you so hard that बिना लाइफ इंश्योरेंस के जिंदगी कैसे चलाओगे एंड जिंदगी के साथ भी जिंदगी के बाद भी all those kind of terminologies, and I fell for it.
So how did you get out of those?
Yeah, so it was a very painful journey, to be very honest. The moment I realized that this is not something which is valuable and good investing, I went to all of these places. Actually, most of these insurance companies, I don't know what is the situation right now. I don't have any life insurance policy now. But at that particular point of time, in order to cancel a policy, there was no way that you can do it online. And the process was something which was super complicated.
Same.
Abhi bhi aisa hi hai? Okay, I don't know. So at that time, I was very frustrated that when I was buying it, everything was like smooth. Somebody will come to your desk and do it within like 15-20 minutes. And when I am saying that I want to close it, I had to go from one office to another office, meet X person, Y person, Z person. And I realized that most of the people will give up.
You have to play office hours. You have to take that serious.
Yeah, seriously, you have to. And I was, few times I had to simply shout at them that this is my money. Means it's my money. I want it back. Please close it and give me back. And I was telling them, forget about growth and all those kind of things. जो भी है, at least give me that money. Took a lot of time, very, very persistent effort, and worst was life in LIC. It was very difficult. But finally, all these 3 policies I could able to close and exit. So I could able to withdraw the money and use it in the right places.
So that was the second misadventure.
Yeah.
But after that, you had some
correct
really smart moves.
Yeah. So then after that, I became started becoming a little bit more knowledgeable, and I was reading a lot. I was studying a lot. At that time, internet wasn't full of all of those things, so I had to kind of do study on my own, lot of things. But started learning, and then started taking a little bit higher risks because risk and reward, of course, they are pretty much proportional. So started investing, going into a little bit more rewarding but riskier. Of course, needs knowledge. Started going into that step by step.
Yeah, which is direct stock.
So direct stock came a little bit later.
Okay.
So first, I would say that my first step was large cap funds. Then I realized, okay, इससे बेहतर कर सकता हूँ. So then I started going for.
And this was in direct plans?
Always direct plan. Initially did some mistakes, but no. After that, everything was direct plan. So then small cap, mid cap funds. Then I realized that which companies are they investing on. Then I started studying about it. Ki why are they buying this one or that one? And then started studying stocks on my own. And that's where my direct stock journey started, where I started picking up some right stocks and started investing in those stocks.
Yeah.
So it was a gradual process.
When you began picking stocks, how big was the amounts initially for you?
So initially, it was, I would say that not super significant because I wasn't earning that great, or I didn't have that much of income to invest on those kind of stocks and all. But 15,000, 20,000, sometimes 5,000, I kind of never put any
You
restriction.
never bet the bank.
So it wasn't the case. I was always kind of whatever money. So I always realized that I have to keep certain opportunity fund. That is something which I realized a little bit earlier, that in order to utilize opportunity, I need to have some opportunity funds.
But what you did do, I think, is that when those stocks began moving up, you increased your
Correct.
investment, which
Correct.
is something that people find very difficult
Very
to
difficult to do
psychologically.
it. Yeah. So in many of the stocks, when I had a very strong conviction that first of all, I never invested in a stock which where I didn't have any conviction, and wherever I have seen in my last 15 years journey, wherever I had gone with the trend or some kind of euphoria, I always lost money on those stocks. Thankfully, not many, but still, whatever that has happened, Just Dial was one of the cases. I never had a conviction. I could never understand their business model, but did it because I had a strong conviction. So started adding more and more money into it.
But was it systematically, or whenever you saw the market fall?
So for me, yes, this is something which I have always kept a very, very strong kind of a principle, that I would always buy on dips. So I would wait, because I have understood in this period that no stock goes constantly up.
Right.
It will always be like there are certain periods where there will be a dip in that stock.
But what if you had bought on a dip and then it dipped further?
First of all, many times I would say, if I understand that the dip, there is a reason for it. I understand the reason. I may buy more, or many of the times I bought more also. Otherwise, I would say I will stay invested.
Okay.
I would never get panicked and sell the stock. This is something which I have never done. This philosophy always worked for me. But it worked only in the cases where I had a strong conviction on the company and business model, where I understood the business model. I have a very specific way of analyzing stocks and all.
And these were just 3-4 companies.
Primarily, yes. I would say that majority of the investment in 4-5 companies, not more than that. And then there is a bit of a tail waiting for opportunity to grow and all that.
But around 80% of your direct stock corpus would be
easily 60-70% goes into some of the major 4-5 companies that I'm investing on.
So Amit, apart from the stocks, you also invest in mutual funds, small cap funds, for over a decade now, I think.
Yeah, almost 13 years, 14 years, at least 14 years.
Yeah. So how did you pick the funds, and what made you think of small cap? Small cap is the flavor now, but back then hardly anybody was investing in.
Nobody was doing it. Yeah. This is something which I started realizing, that it is always again the knowledge process only, the process of learning more and more. Then I started realizing this particular part, that the stabler I would say the indexes or the group of the company is, the returns will be lesser. And actually, I was always fascinated by one thing. For me, it became like a little bit of a, you can call it as an intellectual stimulation, that how can I really beat the index? I should always be having something which is better than index, and that is something which has started driving me, that which are the companies which can give me, and which are the group of the companies which will do that for me. And then I realized that small cap has a great potential, given that of course you need to hedge your risks properly. So I started, I think maybe 10 years or 10 to 11 years back, I started realizing I think I should start getting into small caps also.
And over this period, let's say the last 10 years, what would your return have been approximately?
I would say all put together, first of all, it's super complicated now, because
you have different points of time where you invest.
And there are not good apps
Yes.
which can really aggregate a lot of information together. So one will give you a different one,
Yeah.
another will give you a different one. This is super
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of simulations or kind of calculations at my side, putting
Mhm.
in Excel and try to see my average CAGR for the last decade or so
Mhm.
has come out to be somewhere around 18 to 20% anytime. In the best times, it will go up to 20%.
And you hardly ever withdrawn. So
No, never.
you never withdrawn.
I never withdrew. At least mutual fund, I have never withdrawn. Stocks, I rebalanced, but not withdrew and did something with that.
And not very often, right? The
Very,
rebalance.
very, very rare instances. Very few
Like
instances.
once in a few years, kind of.
Once in few years. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about real estate.
Mhm.
When did you first buy a house?
My first house was 2008, 2009 time frame.
You took advantage of the recession.
Absolutely. So I never had still I don't have. I never had a great, I would say, uh, I'm not a real estate investor. Uh, so because I see a lot of hype in that than the reality. So I was always looking for an opportunity, and 2008 2009 when the crash happened, then I realized this is the best opportunity. I can tell you at that time when I bought a house, um, I got it. I think it was 37 lakhs or something. And the moment I bought and moved into my house, my neighbor came and asked me, "Oh, you bought it?" And the first thing that, interestingly, the first thing that he asked is that, "How much did you buy for?" I'm like very surprised. Who asked this as the first question? And first thing he asked me,
as in the new neighbor of
the new neighbor of my new society, and this is the first thing. First day I opened my door and he bumped into me and he asked me this question: "Ki, how much did you buy for?" Like, okay. I said 37. Okay. So I thought that now when he has broken that,
ice.
what do you say, ice, so maybe I can also go and ask him. So I asked him, "How much did you buy for?" And he said that, pretty bad. I said, like, "What happened?" He said, "I bought it 2 years back." And then, "How much did you buy for?" He said that 42 lakhs. He said that, "Wow, this is amazing." So 2 years, uh, whatever that time loss, as well as he paid a higher cost. I bought the same, just neighbor. I bought it for 37, purely by spotting the right, not being very eager, because there was a lot of pressure around कि अभी घर के prices तो it's going crazy, go and buy.
मैं सोच रहा हूँ वापस नहीं आया होगा के बाद.
हाँ, so we could never be friends.
Okay, so this was your first house.
Yeah, this was my first house.
And to finance it, you sold some holdings. You took a loan. How did you?
So, bit of a holding I sold, and then after that took rest of the loan, rest of the mountain loan. That's how I did it. But I did have a, I would say, decent amount of down payment at that time, not to inflate my loan too much.
And this was a completed project, no? Not under.
It was, exactly. So that is also another thing, because it was a time of recession.
Yeah.
Properties were left unsold, and I bought absolutely, I would say, ready possession. So bought it in almost end of 2008, moved in 2009, ready house. I knew everything. So I didn't have to waste a single day in terms of waiting for that house.
And then you upgraded.
Correct.
8 years later.
I took a decision after 6 years, but moved in after a year and a half later. So almost 7.5 years later.
Right. So you moved in 2015, shall we say?
I moved there in 2017.
Okay.
I bought it in 2015, moved in there in 2017.
Okay. Tell me about the upgrade.
So yeah, even I could buy a little bit bigger house at that time when I was buying my first house also, but
you were conservative.
I was conservative. This has been always my philosophy that I'll buy only whatever that I need. I'm not gonna buy something which is just because of the reason that I can buy it. So then at that particular point of time, I realized that yeah, this is the time of upgrade. My daughter was growing bigger, so I thought that maybe this is a good time. And at that time, very interestingly, the day I booked my bigger flat, I immediately went and put my existing house on listing. So sell it. There is no point holding it any
two
further.
houses.
Two houses. So yeah, so by the time I would say before possession itself, I could able to sell my house, get the money. There was a decent appreciation.
Right. So now let's come to the pandemic.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you did that really built up your corpus and enabled you to retire early was that you bought stocks at the bottom of
Yeah.
the pandemic.
True.
This was not funds, right? Stocks that or both.
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 And you could do this because you're able to withdraw from the SBI Max Gain account 50 lakhs, and then let it compound for the next 3 years. You were not tempted that acha abhi market recover hua hai, to let me pull out some money. How are you not tempted?
So this is something which is basically my philosophy about money. I love finances, but I don't love money. It's not like I have a huge temptation to make a lot of money. I love playing this. I would say financial mathematics. I consider myself partly finance guy because I love doing it. So I always looked at it in a very philosophically, I would say, detached manner. I always kept myself away either from the fear or the greed of the money, because first of all, I realized that money is a very, I would say, it's just a tool. It's just a means to achieve whatever that you want to achieve. It is not the end of everything. And then second thing is that I have always been pretty confident about that part, that I'm competent enough to earn also.
Yeah. So on this note, I want to add that Amit that way is a very unusual guy. For most people, withdrawing money from your home loan to invest in the market is a very high risk strategy. You shouldn't be doing it. But because he's dealt with finance for many years before that, he's a what you can call a savvy investor. It worked for him. He caught the market at the bottom, and this product of SBI enabled it. If you repaid some money into it, you're able to again withdraw it and deploy it for your needs. So it worked in that time, in that combination, but it's not something that we advocate. Just wanted to add that for context.
No, but at the same time, I think it's very important to understand the philosophy behind that. So technically, it is not that you are withdrawing home loan. Everybody tries to prepay the home loan. Everyone does it. But the max gain gives you a facility where you prepay, means you can park your money, but you can withdraw also at any point of time. Of course, they charge a little bit extra compared to a standard home loan. Their delta is 0.5% extra because of that.
8.5 was it when you took it?
I think at that time when I took it, it was 8% or something. Yeah, 8.25 or something like that. I don't remember it exactly, but yeah, there was a delta. But most important thing, I wanted to use that facility, that I can park my money when I don't know what to do about it, where market is unstable or maybe looks overvalued. So at that particular point of time, I would preferably put the money there parked, reduce my interest or reduce my interest component of my home loan. But when the opportunity comes, I can use that money to do it the right kind of an investing.
Yeah, and in this case, your EMI did not change because it's the tenure that the bank
gets adjusted accordingly.
Yeah.
Correct.
But now you've repaid the loan. Right?
So loan is as such, it's not closed, but it is repaid.
Most of it, yeah,
it's repaid.
You still have the option in case
I just
you have another.
I don't know another. I would preferably no such kind of another opportunity, but you never know. It's not in my control. But tomorrow, if another such opportunity comes, I would not let it go.
On that note, Amit, before we finish, anything else that you would like to add for our viewers?
No, so it's very interesting that first of all, there is a word fire that everybody uses. I'm not really a super big advocate of fire as a word. If this has become a kind of a terminology.
We haven't covered how, if I might ask, how old are you?
I'm 46. I'm 46.
Just for our viewers out there, because when you think of retirement and fire is normally before the age of 60, which is...
Correct. So yeah, so this is a terminology which has become like fire as a terminology. But for me, fire is not really financial independence and retire early. I look at these two things separately. Financial independence is separate, retire early is separate. I've reached financial independence. I'm not retiring, but of course, I have stopped working for money. So that means that out of that rat race of making money, now I can focus on doing whatever that I really enjoy doing. I'm passionate about it, and I can dedicate my full time into it. I have been doing, but it was like in bits and pieces. Now I can do it in full time. So for me, FIRE is financial independence, reinvent excitement. So now I'm in the process of reinventing that excitement for myself. And I am very, very passionate about teaching people my through my experiences. I would like to impart my knowledge to people, and that's
You
where
still do
I'm.
consulting work anyway.
I still do some consulting work, and that is something which I'm excited about. The kind of topics that I'm excited about, my technical knowledge, whatever that I have gained in the past.
Fantastic. Best of luck, Amit, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.